जय जय सुरनायक जन सुखदायक प्रणत पाल भगवंता गोद्विज हितकारी
जय सुरारी
सिंधु सुता प्रिय कंता पालन सुरधरणी अद्भुत करनी मरम न जानई कोई जो सहज कृपाला दीन दयाला करौ अनुग्रह सोई करौ अनुग्रह सोई। जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अविरत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी विरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिवासर ध्यावहि गुणगण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा। जेहि सृष्टि उपाई त्रिविध बनाई संग सहाय न दूजा सो करऊ आधारी चिंत हमारी जानिय भगति न पूजा। जो भव भय भंजन मुनि मनरंजन गंजन विपति बरूथा मन बच क्रम बानी छाड़ी सयानी शरण सकल सुर जूथा शरण सकल सुर जूथा। सारद श्रुति शेषा ऋषय अशेषा जाकहु कोई न जाना जेहि दीन प्यारे वेद पुकारे द्रवौ श्री भगवाना। भववारिधि मंदर सब विधि सुंदर गुण मंदिर सुख पुंजा मुनि सिद्ध सकल सुर परम भयातुर नमत नाथ पद कंजा नमत नाथ पद कंजा। जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा। जेहि लागी विरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिबासर ध्यावहि गुणगण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा।
So we ended at this point, isn't it? The Lord abides in the heart. Why are you looking at him in the jungle? And I wonder if there can be a more important thing to say. What happens many times is that when we hear these things, because it is actually so far out, it can seem like we just ignore it. He's telling us that the Lord abides in our heart. God abides in our heart. And all the sages have told us that. How literally can we take this statement? Or do we just take it poetically? Can we meet this fact? And we will not be able to meet it in our head. We'll have to meet it in the heart itself. The Srishti Upaye Trivida Banai, that one. The one who is the Lord of this universe, who's created this whole infinite experience in time and space, and millions like it, without any assistance from anything at all. That is the one who lives in our heart. So the process of spirituality is a deepening in this faith and coming to a point of recognition of this as a fact. And then upon coming to that recognition as a fact, then aspiring to live within this presence in the heart for our entire life. See? So let's use this opportunity today to really hear this, maybe for the first time in our life, that it is God who abides in our heart. His presence is here. And the sage is also telling us how to come to his presence by not wandering around in the thorny jungle. And last time we discussed a lot about what is that thorny jungle. It is the jungle of me, basically, the ego. So hand over everything that you take to be yours to him, and whatever is left of you, keep that only in service to being with God, being present to his presence. Be alive only for his presence, because that is your life anyway. Okay, so let's go forward a bit. So he says, Farid, with these small legs, I crossed deserts and mountains. But today, Farid, my water jug remains hundreds of miles away. Farid, the nights are long, and my sides are aching in pain. Cursed are the lives of those who place their hopes in others. Farid, if I had been there when my friend came, I would have made myself a sacrifice to him. Now my flesh is burning red on the hot coals. Shall we go a little slower? He says, with these small legs I've crossed all the deserts and mountains. But today, Farid, my water jug itself seems hundreds of miles away. That means that the body has come to such a state Even to get up and get yourself a glass of water seems like it's the biggest effort one has to make. And I don't know what was his age when he wrote this, but he's not necessarily speaking of a physical age. There was a time where our ambition, our wanting to achieve, our desires, everything seemed so big, it would seem like we could conquer mountain. But once you realize that the real project is the work within, then even the smallest step seems to be filled with so many obstacles. Yeah. So, in a life of so many days, for example, if you were to say, I have to spend one day fully with God, conceptually, it should be very straightforward, isn't it? Out of the thousands of days, one day I have to spend fully with God. But can we? Because the pull of Maya seems so strong. So this very minor activity, or the minor absence of activity actually, can seem like it is the most difficult thing for us to do. It seems like all the tricks of Maya has to be transcended for us to be with God, even for a single day. So don't just read it from the sense of Faridji's body is old now, so he is lamenting about the state of his body. That is there because he is saying that death is coming soon. But you could write this at 15, or at 20 also, because death is coming soon for everyone. Then he says, Farid, the nights are long and my sides are aching in pain. Cursed are the lives of those who place their hopes in others, which means that they are relying on an outer something for happiness, for joy, for peace, for love, to complete ourselves. So, those who live their lives just like that, they are cursed by what? With suffering, isn't it? Anger, anxiety, resentment, pride, all of this is the byproducts of being outer facing instead of inward facing. You see? So, those who are inner facing, they don't get into these messes, these traps of Maya. Farid, if I had been there when my friend came, I would have made myself a sacrifice to him. Now my flesh is burning red on the hot coals. So now I'm running out of time. I could have offered myself to God. So many times He made Himself available to me. He showed me things in my heart. His presence was so palpable, but I did not use those opportunities to fully surrender. Now I feel like it is such a difficult thing to do. So He's pointing us that don't find yourself in those kind of situations, because God in His grace and mercy has made Himself available to us so often. We must not leave after that. We have said in Satsang many times that once you come to His presence, has He ever left us? He has never left us. He is the most faithful. He does not say, I have other important thing to do. I have 7.5 billion people like you to be with, and trillions of other beings to be with. He is always there for us. So we have to avoid turning away from Him. What are acacia seeds? Acacia trees? Which one?
Giraffe seed, I've heard.
Giraffe seeds. Okay, so some, I'm not aware. The thorny trees? Okay, that fits somehow. Okay, Farid, the farmer plants acacia trees and wishes for grapes. He is spinning wool, but he is wishing to wear silk. Farid, the farmer plants acacia trees and wishes for grapes. He is spinning wool, but wishes to wear silk. What do we read out of this? We are planting here and expecting fruits there. We are obsessing with this, the outer, and wanting outcomes in the inner, which cannot happen. Which cannot happen. So, we need to uproot from here all our attachments, all that we are grasping on to so deeply, and turn inwards fully towards God. Only then will true love come. Only then will true insight happen. Only then can we lead a true life which is meaningful. Farid, the path is muddy, and the house of my beloved is so far away. If I go out, my blanket will get soaked, but if I remain at home, then my heart will be broken. My blanket is soaked, drenched with the downpour of the Lord's rain. If I go out to meet my friend, so that if I go out to meet my friend, so that my heart will not be broken. Farid, I was worried that my turban might become dirty. My thoughtless self did not realize that one day dust will consume my head as well. So, reiterating the same messages from before. We can contemplate these. The path is muddy, and the house of my beloved is so far away. If I go out, my blanket will get soaked, but if I remain at home, then my heart will be broken. My blanket is soaked, drenched with the downpour of the Lord's rain. I am going out to meet my friend so that my heart will not be broken. Farid, I was worried that my turban might become dirty. My thoughtless self did not realize that one day dust will consume my head as well. So all of this is about what are we concerned about? What are we spending this moment on? Are our concerns about that which is going to come and go, or that which is truly in our heart? The eternal life, which is the promise of God's presence, the eternal life in His light, in His sharan, in His refuge. Read sugar cane, candy, sugar, molasses, honey, and buffalo's milk. All these things are sweet, but they are not equal to you. Farid, my bread is made of wood, and hunger is my appetizer. Those who eat buttered bread will suffer in terrible pain. Eat dry bread and drink cold water. Farid, if someone else's buttered bread If you see someone else's buttered bread, do not envy him for it. This night, I did not sleep with my husband Lord, and now my body is suffering in pain. Go and ask the deserted bride how she passes her night. She finds no place of rest in her father-in-law's home, and there is no place in her parents' home either. Her husband Lord does not care for her. What sort of a blessed, happy soul bride is she? In her father-in-law's home hereafter, and in her parents' home in this world, she belongs to her husband Lord. Her husband is inaccessible and unfathomable. A lot to contemplate. He has told us earlier that he considers the Lord to be his husband, which is a very common way to be in love with God, to consider yourself a bride of God, independent of anything else, your gender, etc., doesn't come into play here. But to consider yourself married in the heart to Him is an important step towards union with Him in some of the spiritual traditions, and it's very beautiful. So the lamentation about not being in His presence, not being with Him, and no pleasure of the world seeming worthy as a replacement, nothing in this world or the other means anything unless we are in His presence. So whatever appealed to you, whatever resonated with you in these verses, you can contemplate these for a few minutes and then we'll start. What is it like to be in God's presence? And how does the absence of this presence feel like? What does that feel like? So the great sage Hanuman Poddar said that it's like a divine restlessness for those who are lovers of God, deeply in love with God in their heart, to go to their ego, to go to the realm of Maya, to take that to be real, makes us feel like a fish out of water. Could it also be that we are so used to living like fishes out of water that we don't even recognize it anymore? Who is he talking about when he says that the Lord lives in your heart, he abides in your heart, but we are running around from jungle to jungle? And we need to contemplate deeper if we don't feel like he's talking about us, specifically myself. So he says this very provocative line, especially for those times. He says, "This night I did not sleep with my husband Lord, and now my body is suffering in pain." What does it remind us of? The sages have told us that the opportunity does not come again and again. Avsar bar bar nahi aave. So, if we can be with God right now, to exchange that for something else, then you never know when Maya will leave your throat, when you will have the opportunity again, in which lifetime, if at all, will you get the opportunity to be with God again. Because all of us have seen that we are sitting peacefully in satsang one day. As soon as we leave satsang, then we start getting messages, oh, this emergency happened, this is happening, and very quickly God can be forgotten. Many of us get so attacked by the mind that we don't need an outer emergency. Something just pulls us out from being with God, and that is the play of Maya itself. Getting the symphonic nature of what he's sharing, he's told us already that if I had known how few sesame seeds I had, I would have used them more wisely. And he's reiterating a similar point, saying that this night I did not sleep with my husband Lord, and now my body is suffering in pain. Whose presence is waiting for you in your heart? What is the merging that you are avoiding with all your might? So to get practical for a moment, let's make a list of maybe 4 or 5 things which distract us away from being with Him. And they can be very simple things. They can be Netflix also. So very simple things which just get in the way of us being with Him, and just bring that into your own light. And make it real in the sense of look back at today, look back at yesterday. How many sesame seeds did we waste? How many did we use? Yes. Mike, who has the other mic? And then
It's about this contemplation, just contemplating. You say many times that it's not a worldly empirical means. So I was asking myself what were my concerns today, then memories come up, but that's not the way to do it. And I tried to take it to my heart. You tell me how, that question, like what were my concerns? And you also said that the answer, if it's heart guidance, the present should be apparent and it should come from it.
yes, exactly.
And that didn't happen, but I got some answers which seemed very pertinent. But that's not it, no? Just like how to do the contemplation.
Yes. So what happens is that if your answers seem like they are very pertinent, firstly, you're absolutely right. Every contemplation is not a worldly introspection. What is the difference between a worldly introspection and a contemplation in satsang? That a worldly introspection is done under the guidance of our intellect and using the knowledge in our mind. A contemplation is heart-led, is led by the Atma itself. So really the point of these contemplations is to deepen in our discipleship of the Atma, of the true Sadguru within. And the contemplations in a way are a pretext to get us to learn how to do that. So this is very important, you're right. Now, what happens at times is that you can't really tell where the answer came from. You see? You're praying for God's grace, you're praying to the Atma within to guide you in this, and an answer appears and it seems quite pertinent, but you're not sure where it comes from. Okay? So, what to do with that? At least in the process of contemplation like this, you can write it down and then bring it back to the spirit, bring it back to the Atma and say, is this really what you want me to focus on? Is this what you're trying to tell me? And await further guidance on that. And the mind will tell you that that process seems a bit recursive. It can then go on in a loop, but it is not. Yes, you will see that it is not.
Thank you.
How many moments in a day is it all right to waste away from God? And you don't have to expose the answer. If you can just write it for yourself. How much time is it okay to take a break from God? It's okay. He's not going anywhere. Yeah? And how much time do we actually give ourselves the permission to do? Yeah? And we're not yet talking about the time where it seemed like we didn't give consent to move away from God, but Maya presented something which was so strong that I went towards my ego instead of God. Let's not even count that. How much time are we actually giving permission to ourselves to be away from God? And those are the pretexts under which we do that we are writing, isn't it?
श्लोक शेख फरीद के एक ओंकार सतगुर प्रसाद जित तिहाड़े तनवरी साए लय लिखाए मलक जे कन्नी सुनीदा मुँह देखा ले मुँह देखा ले परिदा दर दरवेशी गाकड़ी चला दुनिया पत बन उठाई फोट दी वन्या कत जिथे वन्या कत फरीदा जे जाना दिल तोड़े संभल बुक भरी जे जाना सौ गंडा थोड़ा मान करी लतीफ काले लिखना लेख आप लड़े गिरिबान में सिर नीवा कर दे सिर नीवा कर दे फरीदा जो तय मारन मुकिया तिना ना मारे कुम आप नड़े कर जाए पैर तिना दे चुम पैर तिना दे चुम देख फरीदा जो थिया दाढ़ी होई पूर अगों नेड़ा आया पिछा रहया दूर पिछा रहया दूर फरीदा अखी देख पतीनिया सुन सुन रीने कन साक पतंदिया और करे दीवन और करे दीवन फरीदा काली जिनी नाराव्या तौली रावे कोए कर साई स्यों बिरहड़ी रंग नवेला होए रंग नवेला हो फरीदा काली तौड़ी साहिब सदा है जे को चित करे अपना लाया फिर ना लगे जे लो जंगल क्या भवे, वन कंडा मोड़े, वसी रब ख्याल है, जंगल क्या ढूंढे, जंगल क्या ढूंढे। फरीदा राती वड्डियां, धुख धुख उठन पास, तिग तिना दा जीव्या, जिना विडाणी आस, जिना विडाणी आस। फरीदा लोड़ दाख बिजूरियां, किकर बीजै जट, ठंड है उन कचाए दा, पैदा लोड़े पट, पैदा लोड़े पट। फरीदा दलिए चिकड़ दूर कर, नाल प्यारे ने, चला दा पिजै कंब जी, रहा ता टुटै ने, रहा ता टुटै ने। पिजो सिजो कंबली, अल्लाह वरसो में, जाए मिला दिना सजना, टुटो नारी ने, टुटो नारी ने। फरीदा शक्कर खंड निवात गुड़, माखियो माझा तुद, सभे वस्तु मिठिया, रब न पुजन तुद, रब न पुजन तुद। जो बन जाते ना डरा, जे सह प्रीत न जाए। फरीदा किती जो बन प्रीत बिन, सुख गए कुमलाए, सुख गए कुमलाए। फरीदा चार गवाया हंड कै, चार गवाया सम, लेखा रब मंगे सिया, आहों केरे कम, आहों केरे कम। फरीदा दर दरवाजे जाए कै, क्यों डिठो कड़ियाल, एह निर्दोषा मारिए, हम दोषां दा क्या हाल, हम दोषां दा क्या हाल। बुढ़ा होवा शेर परी, कंबन लगी दे, जे सौ वरिया जीवना, पीतन हो सीखे, पीतन हो सीखे। फरीदा कोठे मंडप माड़िया, सारे दे भी गए, कूड़ा सौदा कर गए, गोरी आए पे, गोरी आए पे। फरीदा बेक कपा है देखिया, जे सिर किया तिला, कमा दे अर काग दे, उन्ने कोई लिया। सजाए तिना परिता कन मुसल्ला सूफ गल दिल का ती गुड़वात बाहर दिसै जानना दिल अंधियारी रात दिल अंधियारी रात परिता सिर पलिया.
Some very strong verses there, we'll read them out. Yeah.
You've guided us on this before, but I feel I want to see it again. So this, the light that I see in my heart, like the physical.
You see a physical light in your heart. Yes.
Can you just take me more than that, Father?
Very good. So, we've spoken about the outpouring or the byproducts of the darshan of the unperceivable light, which is God's presence in our heart. And one of the forms of the outpouring is this physical light that you see, and it's beautiful. If it is an outpouring, if it is a holy byproduct, it is a prasad of God Himself. So it is very beautiful. What we can do then is to see that what is the source, where is this light coming from? Is this light in itself the holy vibration of God's presence, or is there a subtler saguna nirguna indistinguishable between these two, that kind of a vibration, a primordial vibration from which even this light is emerging, the perceivable light.
Can we do it slowly? Because
This is the light.
I know that the presence that I experience is not that light.
It's not that light.
Yet it seems very close.
Yeah.
So many times when I am in the presence, this light is not so palpable,
Yes.
The physical light, but sometimes it is, and the attention is on it. I don't know. I just feel to ask for help with this.
It's very good. Sometimes in the lives of sages, we've known that this light was palpable not just to themselves but to others around them as well. They could sense that holy light coming from them, but to recognize that it is a blessing, an outpouring, a byproduct, the prasad of our true darshan is very good. And the clue is right there where you say that I recognize that my presence is not this light.
No.
You see? So what is your presence then? In what way is the presence found?
I just know I'm in the presence.
So that just know, is it purely nirguna?
No, there is a presence.
Because the purely nirguna, we can say we just know. There is not a single strand to hold on to. You see? The mildest strand is not there, neither light nor the absence of light. Nothing can be said about it. Not being nor the absence of being. It is just beyond any fathoming. But what makes the presence and the pure awareness awareness?
There is a presence.
See, so that presence, is it quantifiable? Is it saguna?
Not fully.
It's not. And neither is it nirguna, because you say there is No, presence, no? So that unperceivable light is His light, is His presence in your heart, from which the palpable light can appear, from which a very palpable love can appear, from which a deep joy can appear.
Like when I know that this is also the presence,
This is also,
like the light is not distinct from the presence, like, but it's not the presence.
so
It's not like love. It's, but I don't know. So I
So
feel like
it's just like the aura of a sage is not distinct from the sage, and yet it is. That's why we call it the aura of a sage. So this holiness can be surrounded by a palpable light, and it is beautiful, and it can seem like it is a part of that, and yet you can see that.
it feels physical, like
Yes, exactly. That's why it's
in
an
the heart.
outpouring. So the outpouring means that which is the most primordial phenomena and therefore barely phenomenal, then outpours itself into a palpable, into a tangible experience. You see? Now the thing you yourself said that sometimes it's bright, sometimes it's not bright, sometimes it isn't there,
Yeah, it
this light,
varies.
isn't it? So it's a part of the coming and going. Therefore the prasad, sometimes the priest has made it and sometimes the priest has forgotten to make it or doesn't want to make it or doesn't have money to make it for whatever reason. So that is why even this light must be, the perceivable light must be taken as a prasad of God's darshan, because it also can be varying in its quality, in its quantity. But the holy light of God's presence itself, we cannot say sometimes it's a bit dimmer, sometimes it's a bit stronger. We can say sometimes many times I am focused outside, I am focused on the me and not on it. That we can say, but we can never say, oh, the light itself is differing in its quality or quantity.
So the tasted light is also not of this world.
Is not
It's
is of not
of
of
an
this world,
inner
kind
world.
of. Anything that has quantity is in a way of this world. But it's very, very holy because it is so deeply connected to that. So, like the love of God is God. No, it is God. Like the closest thing maybe we can say about God is the love of God. And yet ultimately even God is the source of the love. The love is not the source of God,
The tasted love.
the tasted one. So, the same way for this light. But it is auspicious because everything that comes from this holiness is auspicious, uncontaminated by our pride, our ego. So there is no harm if you're with it. If you stay with that light, there's no harm with that.
But it's clearly distant.
Distinct.
Distinct. And distinct and not the presence itself.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So we must take this outpouring to be a blessing, an encouragement, a sign of God's love for us. See? But don't take the absence of it to mean anything. That's why I stay careful of saying these things, because then our mind is quick to conclude that I am not finding any light like that, so I must be doing something wrong. We cannot say in your heart temple what is the prasad being made. It may be different. It doesn't have to be like that. That's why our focus always must be on God, on the Lord, and not the byproducts are. In the sense, not on gauging or benchmarking them. If they are presented to us, then we can stay with them, of course, without getting attached to them.
It's like a Like even when the attention is on it, I'm not grasping it. Like it's not the anchor.
Yes, but why is all this sounding like bad news?
No, it's not bad news.
Where's the smile?
No, it's not bad news. Just looking at it and
It's such a gift. It's a gift worth rejoicing.
I feel like when I'm just saying out, there's a little bit of worry about if it's proud, being proud or something. So that's I'm a bit careful.
Is it?
It's not.
So when the vigilance comes that am I getting proud, am I making a proud report, just check, and after you check, it's okay. We don't have to get oppressed by vigilance. We only have to be vigilant by vigilance.
Like the only thing truly to hold on to is God, not the byproduct.
Yes. There's Nanak. So Nanak ji's some writing is also in this apparently. So O Nanak, she is the happy soul bride who is pleasing to her carefree Lord, bathing, washing and decorating herself. She comes and sleeps without anxiety. Farid, she still smells like asafoetida, just haldi, hing. Sorry. Hing, turmeric. So they still smell like asafoetida, hing. The fragrance of the musk is gone. I am not afraid of losing my youth as long as I do not lose the love of my husband Lord. Farid, so many youths without his love have dried up and withered away. Farid, anxiety is in my bed, pain is my mattress, and the pain of separation is my blanket and quilt. Behold, this is my life, O my true Lord and Master. Many talk of the pain and suffering of separation. O pain, you are the ruler of all. Farid, that body within which love of the Lord does not well up, look upon that body as a cremation ground. So the last one will sound familiar. Many of you get upset when I say this, but what does it remind you of? Look upon that body in which the love of the Lord does not well up, to look upon that body as a cremation ground. Very similar to the zombie life, isn't it? So, to live a life without God's love, without God's light, without God's presence, is to lead a zombie life as good as a cremation ground itself. He says, I am not afraid of losing my youth as long as I do not lose the love of my husband, Lord. There's so many youths without his love have dried up and withered away. Are we one of them? That is the question. And because it's very beautiful poetry, very beautiful words, even the translation is very touching to the heart. Even in that, sometimes the message can be lost. So we have to be careful that although we enjoy all of it at some level, but we must focus primarily on what he's trying to tell us by taking it as if the great sage is talking to me. We are in satsang with him and he's talking to me. He is telling me that so many so-called youths have withered away without the love of the Lord, and I must not be one of them. He is waiting for you in your heart temple. How long will you make him wait? Okay, beautiful line. Farid, these are poisonous sprouts coated with sugar. Some die planting them, and some are ruined harvesting and enjoying them. What are these? These are poisonous sprouts coated with sugar. Some die planting them, and some are ruined harvesting and enjoying them. Is there anything like this in our life? Yeah. Poisonous sprouts coated with sugar. What is the difference between Shreya and Priya? Jyotima can guide us. Then why? You don't like people on Zoom? Oh. So Shreya is that. Priya is that which is short-term pleasure but long-term misery. Shreya is that which is can seem like short-term effort, pain, misery, but long-term pleasure, long-term auspiciousness. So these poisonous sprouts coated with sugar are Priya. So the list that we made, that's it. No? And note that it is not the activity itself that we are speaking of. So I'm not asking you to cancel your Netflix subscription. I'm just saying that whatever has to arise, let it be when you are in God's presence and His name is on your lips or your self-inquiry is going on. Give him the mic. Yeah. While the mic gets to him. Is this point clear? That it's not the activity itself that we are picking on and saying you must stop this, you must stop that. You see, you can stop all the activities, go and live in a cave, but you fill your head with nonsense there. It's not going to help you. But you have to be honest with yourself and say, in the midst of this activity, am I able to remain with God or not?
Father,
Yes.
when I work with people or interact with people, I find it easy to stay in God's love.
When you interact with people, you find it easy.
Yeah, but when I am work with technology,
Yeah.
I find it difficult. It's not flowing so easily.
So you give yourself the option that if that doesn't change, you have to give up on technology. Okay? Yeah, so if you give yourself that option and say, if I'm not going to stay with God for these 8 hours or whatever I'm working with technology, then it has no place in my life. And then something may change.
Okay.
See what happens, report back to me then.
Yeah.
That willingness, that like Kierkegaard told us that without risk there is no faith. It must seem like we are taking a risk. You see? So our spirituality has to become risky. It can't be safe. We've got the wrong idea about spirituality. We feel that we come to satsang, our lives will become just easier I will feel safer, everything will get more relaxed. It will ultimately, but first we have to transcend all our fears. We have to learn to put God above everything else, and we must be able to say no matter what the cost. You see? So once we go with that spirit, that no matter what the cost, I am going to be with God. If my programming is all rubbish, it doesn't work, all the tests are failing, whatever is happening, I don't care, then that's the way it is.
Father, since the long break that I had from satsangs, I honestly feel that it has been a challenge for me now, these days especially, to be in my own heart, to be in God's presence. And it's not a good feeling because like you said, it's been like a divine restlessness, because I'm truly not able to feel Him in my heart. And the thing is that it's giving me that impetus to further not do anything, So I used to sit, in silence or even contemplate, do self-inquiry. But that, sorry?
Oh, good.
But all that has taken a backseat, honestly, Father, And I don't know, like I just want you to, Father, help me with this because it's very agonizing in a lot of ways, I'm not at all like,
Right.
yeah.
So the most important thing I feel is that you haven't normalized it fully yet. Although what you're saying is that you're scared that you're getting there in a way. Because you're saying that I took a long break from satsang, and as is often the way with Maya, that once these long breaks happen, then it can feel more difficult to remain with God's presence in our heart. And you're saying that that itself the mind is using to pull you further out, saying it's not happening, so what's the point, or whatever the messaging it is using to get you to spend even more of the limited sesame seeds in Maya and it's obviously offering some sugar-coated poisonous sprouts, isn't it? It can't be without that. When we are stuck in Maya, it can't be that we are not buying into some other sugar-coated thing.
I have to add on here, sorry to say
No,
that, but
please.
there has been a resistance also maybe because of the formats being changed a bit, So I'm sorry to say that, but it was there and I'm experiencing this resistance, that this change, or probably, I don't know. So after this break, I just thought maybe everything will be like that, but since this change is also there, the mind is using that, again to...
It is using that.
Yes. So,
It is using that. Because the feeling behind the change and what my heart is telling me, what the change is doing, is that it is allowing us to remain more deeply in the heart and not go to the mind even in satsang, not make it a conceptual understanding as much as it was possible to do in the past. And boredom will come, all kinds of resistance will come, you see. But what it is really showing us is that adding prolonged periods of silence in a satsang environment, itself the mind is resisting, isn't it? Because nothing else has really changed. We just made it much more quiet, much more silent. So that which resists silence is not good for us, is not auspicious for us. So it is very important for us to notice that. Because we're talking about Netflix, and an example is coming that so many times there were film directors who were real artists, they were trying to create some art and not just entertainment. So what they would do is that in the beginning, they would put 5 minutes of really boring stuff, you see, or 10 minutes of really boring stuff. So there's one director who just for 5 minutes or 3 minutes in the beginning of his movie, I don't know if Chanda knows, but just showed a puddle of water and nothing happening. You saw that movie, Roma. So like that. So they want only that audience who's really in it for the art of it and not just for the entertainment of it. You see, so in a way that is a parallel there, that which doesn't allow us to sit in silence, whereas God's presence, God's light, God's love will be met more and more when we allow ourselves to remain in silence, even outside satsang. Then that voice we have to be a little careful about. No? So I'm glad you're bringing it up, because I'm sure all of us notice, and by the end of satsang, I'm sure all of us feel a lot of relief that, okay, now, you see. So, but I feel like I can guarantee to you that in a few weeks and months, you'll start loving this silence so much. And then if I start talking like I used to again, then you'll say, oh, now he started talking so much, he's loving his voice too much, So this kind of resistance will come. So know that the mind is going to be like this always. Jesus has a very beautiful sermon on this. He says that we are in a world where whatever is given to us, we find a way to oppose it. You see? So he says that when John came and he lived in the forest and he was living a life of such deep asceticism, you said, that's not a way to live. What kind of life is that? God doesn't want us to trouble ourselves so much. So you didn't listen to John. Now I've come and I'm sharing with you, but I'm happy, I'm dancing with you, I'm enjoying with you. You're saying that is no life of a sage. How can a Messiah be like this? He's just dancing and enjoying and things. So he said, in whatever way it is given to you, and who is he talking about? He's talking about the same guy within all of us, the resistor, who says, oh, now this is not right, this is not the way, this is changed, you see. So which way will work for us? Which way will work for us is a contemplation worth contemplating, because if that way was to come, your mind will find something there and say, no, that other way was better. Then when the other way comes, then it says, no, that other way is better. So that is just the nature of our mind. So to go through this difficulty of facing mental resistance and still be able to continue, it's a very important step in the process.
Please bless me so that I overcome this resistance.
Fully. So that restlessness that you're feeling is very important, and your mind will offer antidotes to that restlessness in the outer. That is literally what Faridji is telling us. Sugar-coated poisonous sprouts. So that restlessness, the mind will say, okay, now it's good, I know it must be good, but maybe I can come to satsang half the days. Because maybe I can just finish my work half the time. Most of the time he's not saying anything anyway, so what am I learning? Like this kind of, so these kind of tactics will come, and soon satsang itself will start feeling distant and like not yes. But it's good to face it while we are talking like this together. You see? Because many children get caught up in this, and I'd be happy if they went to a better place where they could feel God's presence more closely, but most times it is not the case, and you've seen that over the years as well. So notice these tricks, you see. And if the mind is strongly resisting something, then you must try it out. Let's try it out. And just bring it up. Just bring it up like this is good. Because these things, when they are hidden, then they fester more and more. They just keep festering more.
So about activity, you mentioned Netflix. It's only say watching a movie. So you can't be praying and watching at the same time. So
You can be. You try it. He's the mic expert.
yeah, I've tried and not very successfully. So
Which side wins? The prayer wins or the Netflix wins?
prayer.
Prayer wins? That's good.
No, like prayer goes away. That
Prayer goes away.
yeah.
don't sacrifice your prayer. So what happened, it's a very silly story, and you may not want to come to satsang with such a foolish teacher after this, hearing this story, but so you know that my work life, you know, Vera, that I'm part of like an investors group. They have a Slack and things. So we keep sharing what we are doing as far as our work is concerned. And some silly things happened, and they said, now you have to give us a treat and we have to meet. And you know, they were quite insistent that we have to go for a movie together. So I said, which movie? They said a movie called Kill. So I said, I'm too much of a sadhu for a movie like Kill. Can I just join all of you after the movie? I'll join you for dinner and we'll have a nice dinner together. So they felt a bit offended and hurt when I said like that. So I said, okay, I'll come with you. That movie was the most obnoxious thing I've seen. Like, don't at all venture into it. So what then happened is that, but I noticed for myself that something was starting to get attracted to the storyline. Like what is going to happen with this one, what is going, you see, so the story of course is the same old thing, that there's a character and injustice has happened, strong injustice happened to him, and they put all the tropes that are possible in these storylines. So then at a point, without wanting to offend them, and my son came with me. So he was sitting next to me, those ones were a little further from me. So I just closed my eyes and I said that I'm going to focus only on God, because this kind of thing is not healthy for my temple in my heart. So I just closed my eyes. I said I'll close my eyes for a few minutes. You see? I close my eyes for a few minutes and I'll stay with God. And then I'll keep just, checking into the movie once in a while. And I just closed my eyes and something told me that inside is where I have to be. Just inside is where I have to be. And usually I can be inside without having to close my eyes also, but this one was just too much. So I just closed my eyes for a minute, and it became so clear that I have to be here with him in my heart. So I just stayed like that, and the mind was saying, but don't you want to see what happened to that bad guy? Just like that. So my son, at the end of the movie, was like, he knows I'm weird, so he was probably all right. But maybe this was too much for him also. That I didn't see anything that thing. So that's it. You have to allow God to win no matter what the temptation is. So if in the Netflix you're trying to pray, but Netflix is winning, then turn it off. Yeah? But if you find yourself truly, sincerely, we can only fool ourselves. So, but if you feel like you can stay in the heart, and it's just to give your family company, or to just fill up time, or I don't know, whatever it is, to watch, but not to let go of your heart, then that is fine.
So filtering off an activity would be like if we are with God, with presence or praying or remembrance of God.
Focus has to be on God. What is the broader definition of prayer? The focus is not on me, it is on God. So whether it is the prayer, words of the prayer itself, or inquiry, or just remaining quietly in the presence of God, remaining open and empty, but with integrity. We know for ourselves, you see, because nobody in this world is going to come and check on how much time you wasted. Because we can all come to satsang and say, I'm fully with God. And have you ever known me to say, I don't have any of those siddhis, I just take your word for it. So, but we have to be true to ourselves. Okay, maybe we are coming to that point exactly. So he said, Farid, the hours of the day are lost wandering around, and the hours of the night are lost in sleep. The hours of the day are lost wandering around, and the hours of the night are lost in sleep. God will call for an account and ask you why you came into this world. God will call for your account and ask you why you came into this world. Now, the sage is lying to us. He has to be. Yes? Can't be, isn't it? It can't be that the sage is lying to us. And if there's, it's between me and the sage, one of us is wrong, the high likelihood is that the sage is wrong. Yes? So this is what we often do when we are not in satsang hall like this, when we are rationalizing to ourselves. This is what we often do. That I don't agree with this, so I must be right. Yes. How am I able to tell you these things? Because it's from my experience. Exactly. Yes, so we rationalize to ourselves that it must be my belief system which is correct, you see, or my idea which is correct, without checking in with our heart. You see? And how is it that sage after sage after sage have told us these things?
It says that godliness, I forgot what the title is, but it says that if they don't believe in God, they still feel some sense that they should be righteous and I should, be fair or live by my conscience and all, but they don't believe in God still. So their work is never blessed by God and doesn't fructify. And secondly, when their conscience hurts them and there's an inner conflict, they then use justifications and their perception gets all distorted and they use justifications to say why they did that action. And then he says, the sage says, if they could see that inner conflict, if they could go by God's will, they will become a light unto themselves and others. So they've left out God's will in that equation of what is right and wrong. And so, because I feel that.
This is a very valid point, but even more simply, you see, if somebody has been really bad to us, somebody has been really bad to us, what do we say? One day God will do your justice. God will take care of you. Then for them it is okay for God to take account. But when it comes to us, no. God won't take my account. You see? So these are the mental traps that we fall into. You see? And what are we scared of? You see? That audience of one, you see, one day takes our account, or even that there is an audience of one, it should be very reassuring, isn't it? That God is with me, He is aware of my intentions, He is aware of my actions. So why are we scared of the judge? That is worth contemplating. Why are we scared of the judge? Because this judge scares us. No? Like God as a loving father is very loving, but God as a judge, even a gentle judge, can seem scary. Why is it scary? Huh? Yes, it's okay to be scared, but why is it scary? Huh? Because we are not giving 100%, and that we don't want to come into the account. So, scared of being punished. What will be the punishment for this thing? But we want those who wronged us, we want them punished. Those who live in ungodly ways that we have to encounter, we want them punished. And what do we feel God's punishment will be like? If our biological parents, if those who love us and they're not going through some things for themselves, if they're really just able to be loving parents, their punishment is so loving and just to help us grow, then why are we scared at all about God's punishment? And can there be a greater punishment than what we are doing to ourselves anyway? Is it? Can separation from God, can there be a greater punishment than that? So what are we scared of His punishment? We are punishing ourselves in much worse way. Can there be a greater punishment than the absence of love? To live a moment without love, can there be a greater punishment than that? But when we resent, when we hold grievances, when we get feverish, when we get proud, that separation, that absence of His presence, that is felt. There is no other hell than that. There can't be. This is hell enough. So there is no need to be scared of His punishment. Everything that we have, we must offer to Him and say, this is where I am, this is what my life is. Do with me as you please. And till we don't have that sense, do with me as you please, then our surrender is just lip service. You see, on one hand we say, I'm fully surrendered to you, I'm fully surrendered to you. On the other hand, we are scared of saying, do with me as you please. Then what is that? It cannot be any other way. That God only knows how to love. And God only knows how to be merciful. That beautiful line from Hanuman Podar ji, I'll never forget. कि भगवान तो सिर्फ कृपा करना ही जानते हैं. He only knows how to love. You see? But if that one has to give us a nudge, if that one has to give us a push, then we better open our eyes, isn't it? Because one who is only merciful, if he has to be strong with us, then we have to open our eyes, isn't it? So it is not about being scared, not about that kind of fear. It is an awareness of the audience of one. It is being present to His presence. So I've made it simpler also in one satsang. I said, if Krishna was sitting in the room with you, just do that. What you would do when he's sitting in a room with you. And if you don't know whether you should do that when he's in the room with you, then ask him. It may sound simplistic or may sound difficult, I don't know. But that's a simple way of putting it. And of course, Krishna is Ram, Jesus, Allah, whichever way you want to put it. He is there with you right now. Is He not here with you right now? Do we live like that? So who are we fooling? Are we fooling Him or ourselves? See? So you're getting the point about how it is about the audience of one always there with you. And how many times do we replace that understanding of the true audience of one with the idea of the audience of the world or audience of people around us? It's the only one. It's the only one. So the audience of one doesn't mean that he is the only one that is important. Is it? It means that he is the only one. Huh? So if it feels like a fear, it feels like a trepidation, it feels that seems oppressive, big brother watching us type thing, go deeper in your heart and you will find that it is the most reassuring thing. Because you don't need the like on Facebook or Instagram. You don't need to be attached to what things seemingly are approval and disapproval in the world. As long as you know in your heart that you're pleasing to Him, what do you have to worry about? Huh? So it goes from a trepidation to a reassurance that God is always with us, He is always watching us. And if you know that there is something which your heart tells you is not on the right track, then why do it? Why do programming if it takes you away from God? Is money that important? Why watch the movie if you know it's taking you away from God? Is stimulus, is sensory enjoyment that important? And don't ever feel that I'm asking these questions just to you, I'm asking them to myself as well. And in this is a presumption that God is always going to be oppressive somewhere.
Standard oil spa.
Huh?
Oil spa.
Hot oil spa. I didn't get it.
Those are the standard procedures. If you do something bad.
Oh, you mean the frying in the hellish hellfires?
I just feel there are lots of do's and don'ts happening inside now. But a bit Father.
Do a lot of do's and don'ts.
Yeah, because the more I hear and the more I read, the more it's like, okay, you have to be loving, you have to be humble, you have to be kind, you have to be, take care of your neighbors. It's just a lot of things building
And
up
you
in the
want
head.
to instead be
Just
free.
just be in the love of God. It's very hard for me to think of a censorious God or a scary God or for me, God is just so fully full of love and an equal amount of love and grace He's given to all His children. So how can there be separation? There is so much love, so much grace. And it's very hard for me to then police this one's behavior so strictly because he will be angry. I'm not being able to get there.
So let me explain that to you. It's very, very important to understand this. So He only knows how to love. He only knows how to love. Now, we have so many people around us that we love deeply, isn't it? Huh? Now suppose you see a child who you deeply love, and this child is just getting more and more separate from you, more and more making the calls to get themselves into a deeper and deeper mental turmoil, deeper and deeper mess in their life, like creating a mess of it. And you explain to this child lovingly. So now you say, now I've explained to this child lovingly, now it is up to them. Is it like that? Is the extent of our love that this child is going into a ditch, falling into a well, and they feel like they're doing a great job of their life. And now I've just told them lovingly because I'm a loving parent. Now I have to stop. Is it like that? That is not the extent of our love. No? So then how can we make boundaries according to what seems fine to our mind about how God has to guide us and love us? Can't. So if we have the faith that He can only love us, and that is what my faith tells me and what my experience tells me, that He only loves me, but does that mean that He doesn't give me a knock on the head from time to time? He does. And do I take it as His love in that moment? Maybe not at every moment. But do I see that it was the most important thing for me? Later, yes, I do. Okay? So don't wrap yourself into an idea of how He should be with us. You see, because then we are looking at, in a way, we are looking at reverse servitude without realizing it, of course. Because we have framed how He should be towards us according to our idea of how He should be towards us. In fact, it should be the other way around. Now, how do we know how He wants us to be? Our heart tells us moment to moment. Our heart tells us moment to moment. Yes, that's the whole essence of the pointing. You see? That you don't, so that's the main point that I was coming to, is that you don't have to do it in a mental category of spirituality and good and bad. And often I've explained this point that why was it good for Arjuna to pick up the bow and arrow? Because the Lord told him. We don't need any other explanation of dharma after that. The Lord told him and it was good. If the Lord had told him that you cannot do this to your close family, it is not right for you, then that would have been his dharma. You see? So we are not to make a our spirituality into an ethicality. Our ethicality, I'm inventing the word, has to emerge from our spirituality. Yeah, exactly. So it's very important we have this conversation because I can see that something is starting to enter, but something is still not so clear about it. So our way of life, which is ethics. What is ethics? How should we live is ethics. Our way of life has to emerge from what God is telling us. That is what hukum rajai chalna, nanak to be in servitude, to follow God's will, means that. It doesn't mean that I have made an idea of what your will is going to be and I will follow that. So nothing in satsang is intended to make you feel that way, but I can see how it may sound that way. But what is being pointed at is that we must follow God's will. We must follow God's will moment to moment, and He is showing us in our heart moment to moment through the presence of love, through the presence of openness, through the presence of peace, through the presence of presence itself, what is the right way to live, whether to turn left or right. And when we don't know, we have to wait. You're getting a sense of the project? So it is not that we go to the mind and say, what would God want? We go to God and say, what do you want? And then it is not oppressive. This is I should not say it is not oppressive, it is supremely oppressive to the mind. You see? And it is supremely freeing to the rest of our being. We will be either in servitude to our mind, which we take to be ourselves, and we make God the other, which is the strangeness of it all, or we will be in servitude to God. As long as the ability to be in servitude is there, the notion of choice is there, we will be in servitude. Would you rather be a servant in Ramji's house or in Ravan's house? That is the call you have to take. And if you take yourself to be Ravan without seeing, without realizing, that is a life of suffering and oppression. Who could have a problem being a servant in Ramji's house? What would we rather be? Like buddies with Ram? Just to have one moment of darshan of him, if I have to come as a servant a million times, it's very worthwhile.
Thank you, Father. I feel I was just getting very trapped in me, the head, me, the,
Very good to see.
the spiritual
And
ego.
half the satsang hall is emptied out, so I'm wondering whether it's something I'm saying. Oh. I realize that it's not, and they're not emptied out because of what I'm saying. I'm just joking about that, hopefully. But it's not usually what we see, what we hear in modern day satsang. But it's a very important aspect of this Veda Abheda. That which still takes itself to be distinct, and that is the one that's rebelling. No? You see, if that one wasn't there, then what's the problem? You see? So the one that is still taking itself to be distinct from God has a problem with servitude, and that's why it must be kept in servitude, because it has a problem with servitude. Can't I even watch a movie? That's the voice of the resisting. No, I can't. It's very suffocating to the ego, and that is why this path is difficult. That's why I'm not promising ease to anybody. It's not easy. What happened? Yes, that is the compelling thing. So to just cut that out, and I hope you realize that I made a complete parallel to this life, isn't it? That narrative about the movie, of course, it happened like that, but it's a full parallel to this life. Suppose you had to just. Everyone loved the Nirguna, no, in this satsang. So suppose you had to fade into the Nirguna right now, and you don't know what happened to the villains in your life, and what happened to your children, and what happened to any of this, then you won't love the Nirguna as much as you think you do. Because that's what. He hardly ever says anything, so I'm waiting with bated breath to see her.
Okay, I've observed these patterns when I'm in the crowd around a lot of people.
When you're in a crowd.
Yeah, like I forget being in God's light. Like
You?
I forget being in
forget.
God's light. And it'll be like hours together. I'm like in the Maya, completely absorbed.
Like in a party, Like what kind of crowd?
Like recently in the mall.
In a mall.
Yeah, and then now, in the weekend I have cousin's wedding and full-on family drama.
She's scared.
To be around them, and and I'm damn sure I'll not be in God's light.
So, just now, starting from this moment, carry the intention with you that you will not let Maya win. You will stay with God's presence. You will stay in His light. And then when you forget, because it is bound to happen, in a wedding, cousins, so much fun, so much, all of this. So when you forget, but you remember that, see, I've forgotten, then return. If you never remember, then you never remember. It's a write-off anyway.
Yeah, that I have observed in, when I encounter too many people, then my eyes are into.
So just your noticing itself is good, and then see, next time it happens, I will stay with God. Next time it happens, I will stay with God, and more as much as possible. And remember that God knows. God knows. So that's often I take this example. So I'm not giving you an excuse, okay? But in a wedding where you would be so fully caught up in Maya, if you remember him 3 times, you see, or 10 times, it's better than being alone at home for an hour and being fully with him. Because God is aware of the temptation in temptations. He is aware how tempting they are. And still in the midst of the highest or the strongest seeming temptations, you still made it a point so often to come to Him. That is very valuable. So do with your highest intention, with as much that you have to offer. That's all. That's all that's needed. You cannot go beyond what you can do. But we must do to the maximum, not the minimum.
Thank you.
Chat blowing up with angry messages. So one child said, what made you decide to sit on the ground rather than on the chair after a decade of sharing satsang from a almost pedestal? What made you? I just felt like it was foolish of me to sit on a higher level than everybody else. And I realized that I was foolish and maybe some pride was seeping in, or maybe a lot of pride was seeping in. Okay? And I just felt that it'll be more authentic because what do I really have to offer anyone? What I have to just try my best every day to make myself available to be God's instrument. And there may be many times where my pride gets the better of me and I make a full mess of that. So some of the things that Atma was sending me, the Holy Spirit Atma was sending me, also kept pointing in that direction, that especially a pastor saying that he shared a beautiful sermon, and after that everyone was saying how great he is, and he overheard that conversation and he felt really bad that they were talking about how great he is instead of saying how great God is. And that story really touched me. Then another sage shared, he said, share God's word, share God's light, die and be forgotten. That sounds so perfect. Share God's word or share God's light, share the gospel, die, be forgotten. What is in this Ananta? Nothing. So after satsang, just God, God, God. What will happen if this foolish man Ananta becomes some Mahaguru, Vishwaguru? What will happen? Nothing. Still have one bed to sleep on, one set of clothes to wear at the same time. Nothing. And he's going to die. This body is going to die. So I realized somewhere that as I was getting older, I saw that there's nothing in this stuff. The only thing that counts is His light, His love, His presence. Did I make it about Him? And even in this, am I making it about myself? That's the key. So more and more we see the unreality of the outer audience. We see the reality of only the inner one. Do I have a performative spirituality? I do. I still feel like these words are a bit performative. Like speaking to an audience. And that pretense I need to work on every day. And I don't forget this project. I hope I don't forget this project. So can I say, share sincerely just for God's sake and not how I'm appearing to anyone, not what people think of me. Am I at that point? Maybe if all my children tomorrow after this satsang attack me, maybe my pride will be hurt. Do I want to get there? I want to get there. To a point where truly not even what you beloved children think of me is what counts. Only God, only God. All of us. But I cannot preach it unless I try to live it.
But the fragrance in the words we do in our heart is quite different from our wanting to get there. I mean, you say just come directly. There's no question or any argument with it. When I try and say it to myself, it's just wishy-washy, dream kind of desire.
This Bheda thing. This Bheda thing contains a lot of mysteries. And the deeper you dive into His light and His love, the more you're brought to your knees. So, like it is a never-ending project. A fancy term for that is Guru Sadhana. That Guru also have to do sadhana. But no Guru to speak about. So, but the lifetime of work continues. But if we get into that Guru mode, that I am the Guru, that is the biggest trap in this world plane. And it's very difficult to avoid when so many are falling at your feet. So many are saying, we love you more than everything, our life is for you. And the mind wants to make a shape out of that, wants to make you into something. And that is the shape that I'm calling the pretense. No? It's that mask. Like even now, I notice it for myself. Can I be fully transparent, fully naked? I'm learning, I'm trying to. What is clear is that everything good that comes out of this one is a beautiful gift from God. And is there a capacity for foolishness to come out? Yes. But I see how that the Bheda part of me, that injects the foolishness. And I notice the trap which tells me that there is no Bheda part of you. But then grace showed me that that is the Veda part of me. The part that says that there is no distinct part of you, so why all this? That is the distinct part of me which has to be kept head bowed down. Otherwise, I don't want to afflict that kind of teacher on any of my children. And it's very, very possible that in the trajectory of this one, he could have gone in that direction. But grace helped. No, I'm not, with full sincerity I say this. It's very possible after 10 years of sharing satsang, you can get into a mode of somebody. Huh? No, but the trajectory was there, and I see points where it was like that. So grace blessed me that I was able to spot. See? And I'm able to spot even right now. Can one be a fully transparent instrument of God? That is the experiment of this life. Have I succeeded? I haven't succeeded at all, far from it. Do I feel in my heart it's getting little better? Yes, I do feel that, to be honest. That consolation is there. Do I know how much of a road it still is? I don't. I can only walk the next step. So I realized that the teacher is only. Did you see anyone see the Olympic 100-meter dash? So the winner won by 1/5000th of a second, or something like that. 1/500th or 5,000th of a second, some absurd thing like that. Huh? And they had the technology or something to clock that. So that is the difference between a teacher and a disciple in this world. Just that much. And just that much, I know, can seem like heaven and hell. When I look at this boy, at best, if he deserves to be called your teacher at all, it is just that much. But I promise you that I'm working on myself constantly. That's the least I can do in return for your love. And may grace, may God, may all the sages, may they never bring this man to a point where he feels that he's got it now or he doesn't need any work on himself. Okay, please.
I had a request. Couple of months ago, I think you said that you were trying to put together a playlist of YouTube videos and all that you keep listening to, right? Could you share those? I don't know how, maybe as a playlist or something.
Yes, well,
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding. What time do we have? Full emo today, as my kids would say. My kids would say, why are you getting so emo, bro? Let's go to Keisha.
Hi, Father.
Hello.
Oh, shoot.
I can hear you.
Okay. This fire just like came up really strong just recently, just now, and I just want to really combine myself with your prayer that you just said, and it's just seen more and more how important love is, that nothing is higher than that. Like all of the spiritual experiences and the insight and the levitation or anything like that, it doesn't matter. Like even awakening or enlightenment, like if I don't love, then it doesn't matter. I have nothing, and I just really want to live by this, and I need help, and I really just I don't want anything else to matter. I don't want to be so focused on this idea of spirituality and evolution that I miss that I can just be so cruel to life and God, that, and because it's just seen more and more by just experience of even just feeling rejected by events, and how important it is to love and more than this spiritual path. I have to say that, and maybe that's blasphemous, but
In fact,
I have nothing if I don't have that.
yes, and that is the spiritual path. If
I need,
love can get in the way of the spiritual path, then that which we are taking to be the spiritual path is not the spiritual path. Love is the spiritual path.
yeah, yeah, and I really want to live that, and really for these words to be true and to have that be the priority in the way of life, and not just this insight of it being important, to really embody it, Father, more than anything, more than a pedestal, more than what I can say I know, more than any of that, more than your reassurance, more than being the highest devotee. Like, if nobody ever knows me, knows my name, I want to at least know that I can truly love and love.
Yeah. Yes. Full blessings, full blessings. And I'm grateful to Baba Farid ji that he's bringing all this out of us today, because it's so important to recognize that it doesn't matter what is happening in the outer, but if we don't live in His holy presence and you're crowned the King of the universe, it means nothing at all.
Yeah.
It's very, very important.
Just help us, Father. Like, if you could just pray that this becomes the most important.
Yes, yes, yes.
Even if there's failing, and there is, that we keep coming back to it.
Yes,
without consolation or reassurance.
Yes.
Without the gifts. Without needing to be noticed. Without needing to be loved. I want to love without needing to be loved, Father.
Very good, very good.
Even by God.
That's an impossible one. Even my prayers can't help with that. That's too difficult. To love God without being loved by Him? No, I know what you're I'm just.
You know what I mean, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Bless you, bless you. Very good. Very good. Let's hear Muni.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, my dear.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I just thought to come up and thank you for today's satsang. Somehow, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's a small thing, but it has been, thank you, it was been very restful. And somehow with everything, it's very, I must say, very, thank you.
Very
Yeah, very, very, very restful. And yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to also, like, I don't know, come forward when you said, like, don't let the things fester in you, and to Sangha sister there. And that, yeah, somehow not to be brought away from satsang. And Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. And also what Keisha was right now saying, and you were saying about love, and to expose that somehow, I don't know, but there has not been so much love lately somehow, and I don't know why. I kind of do know why, actually. Um, I don't know if it's too long to share, but somehow I've been noticing, and you saying as you said, it's hell. Yeah, I would accept. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, uh, to live without love, and yeah.
Very happy to hear, my dear, that you're noticing this and you're returning back to His calling, which is love. His love is His calling us, pulling us back in to His light, to His presence. So I pray that you return to this love, that this love returns to you, because that is the perfume of God that you can follow right back to its source.
Thank you. Maybe also if I can, somehow it has not been so, because in the past I don't, it's been like so obvious how God's will can guide us. And with that not being apparent, and kind of without that, we are kind of, I must say, we are lost. It feels like we don't know what's good for us at all.
Yeah.
And somehow it has been, I must admit, very difficult now to see how to flow, because um, even though I'm trying to follow God's will, sometimes it's not so apparent.
Yeah.
Somehow I must admit that yeah. Sometimes also Guruji once said once, like uh, like I thought it was for me now, like like uh, that like you're acting like something, like I don't remember the exact words, like a complete intuition, but actually like it's then your actions don't show it. And somehow I feel like that, to be honest, like that I'm guiding somewhere, but it turns out like it's like complete mess. Or yeah.
I hear you. I hear you, that part of it. And we were talking about this last time as well, that there is always going to be, to follow God's will, to be in God's presence, to be guided by God, will always seem like an act of faith. It will not just, it will never seem 100% obvious. Some risk, some faith will always be needed.
Yeah. Yeah. But how can I be guided by when I don't feel God's presence is completely apparent to me? Or I don't know if this is just an idea. Like, how can we be guided then?
If you are inward facing, but you don't see the light in the altar, but you're still facing the altar, you're still guided by God. And it is probably even more love that you're receiving from God, because to have the faith to remain inward facing even though His presence is not palpable, that is a very beautiful thing.
And by inward facing, like open, you mean open and empty, or inquiring or praying all the time? Like, yeah.
As long as you are not in the center of your life and He is, the
Yeah.
tool is secondary, the method is secondary.
I must admit, I've been staying with it a lot, and like the idea or like praying all the time, it's like verbally saying the prayer is like to expose like it's impossible. Like I start with that, but like after 5-10 minutes, half an hour, or like then inquiring and yeah. Um,
Thank you.
thank you.
Eric, Eric. Yes. Okay, let's go to Paula. Am I making everyone cry today? Or what's happening?
My father.
Hello.
Just not so sure what to say. Just was just very like touched by what Keisha shared.
Yeah. Very close.
And maybe I'm just want to say that I'm very happy for these that for your guidance on the path of love, and I see that as Keisha was saying, I know I don't love enough. I know I don't love enough. Like anyone.
You know that you don't love? Can you finish? I didn't get the last part of your sentence.
That I know that I don't love.
You
Yes.
don't love. You don't love.
And I want it. And I know it's the only way, and that's we are alive for that.
The one contemplation then could be that when we really know something, it is known only in the presence of love. Then you know intuitively, you know in your heart. So this is a bit of a Zen thing, what you said. That I really know that I don't love. Because if you were to really know, then that knowing has to be on fire with love, you see. So is your love telling you that you don't love?
I guess I say it because I'm living in hell most of the time.
And that is the work we have to do. That is the work we have to do. Moment to moment, thought by thought, to change the focus back to God. But to know that we are living a hellish life is much better than to be living in hell and pretending we are in heaven. A life of separation, a life of egotism is a hellish existence. But most of our brothers and sisters and ourselves, we don't recognize so many times that when ego feels like God, then we feel like everything is just right, we are winning. But to recognize that we are, we have a lot of work to do. We have to deepen in our love, to deepen in our devotion, our servitude, inquiry, prayer. Then we are on the right track.
You know that yesterday I was listening to Francis Chan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying something like that this love we cannot like perform it or be better at, or it's just the grace of God. That it's only by His grace. It's not. And that is also like a koan, because then you say, then what can I do to love more? And it's not something that we can do. It's just I don't know, but it felt very like the only thing I
How to
just can have
deepen in
faith.
love. Yes, how to deepen in love. I feel one simple instruction after such a complicated satsang will help everyone, which is to just pray all the time. And whether the prayer is in the form of inquiry, whether the prayer is in the form of prayer, whether the prayer is in the form of silent sitting in prayer, whichever way that you focus on God, just keep your focus on God all the time. That will take care of faith, it will take care of humility, it will take care of love, it will take care of gratitude. Everything is needed for that. And some of you get irritated sometimes saying, why is Father talking about all of these things? And you see, because as you point these things out and you look at all of these things, then your prayer all the time becomes simpler. And then when your prayer all the time becomes simpler, then your faith, humility, all of that gets easier. So it's a virtuous circle, and we meet it in both ways.
Sometimes I get very confused about. I mean, like it's like an idea that I have to like conflict with actions. Like if I want to stay in God, then I cannot do anything. I have to basically just like sitting and just with my eyes closed. Like the example you were giving with the movie, when you went to the movie, like everything seems less unworthy of my attention. Everything, and that would mean like being like a stone, and that gets me very confused because I know you said it's not like that.
Yes.
And yeah, so and I've been very inactive for
Yes.
and that does that also leave me a lot of trouble in my life. So I don't know, it's that's why it's confusing.
The word attention is confusing, no? So let's break it down and say, is it really attention or is it value? See? Nothing is really worthy of our value except God. But if attention is so deeply linked to that for some things, then it may be needed to cut out our attention from that. But for most things that show up in this world, just to value God more than that is enough usually. So sometimes we use attention or focus for that word which is actually value or belief. So just value God in your heart much more than anything else that is showing up. And if you can't, then just cut out your attention as well. You see, if there is something, so if you're determined to value God more than everything else, and then repetitively you see that this particular thing, when your attention is on it, you can't value God as much, then cut that out from your life.
Yeah, but that would mean like cut everything. Like,
If that's what it means, but I would not jump to that conclusion. Just see for yourself, like if you find your focus away from God in every case that your attention is outside with anything,
well, I will have to experiment with that because I don't know really. I mean, the idea is that yes, that every time that I'm focusing my attention on on things, I'm not with God. That's the idea that I have, but
It's
maybe
an
I'll
idea.
have to pay more attention.
We have to see, because suppose you're just looking into the eyes of a little child in your family. Are you away from God? Are you away from God then?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it is to be with God. I don't know, Father.
See, let's find out. Let's find out. So use your prayer, use your inquiry, use everything that Satsang has offered to you, and let's really find out, because to find out is very important. We can't waste more time, we have to find out. Let's work on this together and find out what it means to be with God and what it means to separate ourselves. As notional as that separation may be, it is still the experience of separation, still the experience of a hellish existence. Good?
Good. Well,
Say.
I feel I'm leaving it like for a project in the future. Maybe I'm not. Maybe focusing
Well,
now on what you're saying.
it is now, and it is a lifetime project.
Yes.
Both are true. Both are true. So now God, now presence, now light, now recognition of the self, now in that moment of being within, all of this is true. And yet, because Maya is compelling, nobody can say that it is not a lifetime of work. Because without that, Papaji would never have said, vigilance till my dying breath. He would have said, I saw myself now, and that's it.
Thank you, Father. I feel it's a bit late now.
Thank you.
There's still hands. Thank you. Love you so much.
Bless you. Let's go to Atma Jyoti. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing, my child? You good?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that here somehow it's like the change and satsang, the way you deliver it, like was very welcomed here. Like it felt like like a fresh air, something like that. Like very, very welcomed here, and I don't know, like I almost afraid to say that because like I can't grab onto things, but seems like here like there is more like not more, but like there's something in me chooses love, acceptance, and forgiveness, and I don't know. Yeah, choosing that.
Very good. Very good. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah, and it feels. I feel it in my being as well. How it's like, yeah. Because I guess it's easier to go with. I don't know why I'm crying. Yeah, it's like maybe easier to go with hate or unacceptance. I'm talking about everything and anything in life, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah. But that's not why I raised the hand. Maybe something else was happening quite interesting, and I don't understand why it is like that.
Yes.
And maybe it just, if you could explain, or
Okay.
maybe I'm just making these things up. I'm not entirely sure, but like, let's say in some, like, it just happens, something like triggers, like very, but like, I'm not saying like we all do feel emotions, but like very heightened, very, it's almost like a match. It comes, oof, and that's, and it's, I don't carry it through the day, let's say, but it comes so strong. Like even today, that's why I raised my hand. Like, I don't understand. Like, it happened, and
what is the
but
what is the usual emotion that is being experienced at that time?
no, it's almost like, yeah, like very aggression, very masculine energy, like very, very, like I'm just amazed and surprised. Where is it even coming from? Because I would never think that I carried something like that in me.
Yes. Yes.
And even today something happened. Like, I won't go into detail, but almost felt like you know, when I used to have like those body shakes.
Yes. Yes.
Something like that. Like, I could see it, but I couldn't like control it. So today something like that happened, and I'm seeing it, I'm watching it almost like a slow motion, and it stopped, just like that.
And in that time, do you feel like your focus on God's presence is still there, or it's completely gone?
In those few seconds, I'm gone. Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So when
By
it
the
is,
way, I didn't hurt anyone or anything. If there's
yes,
something
yes,
like
yes.
that. No, it's not
No, no,
nothing like
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
It's just,
I'm not worried about that. So, what we can do in those times, we can't do anything really, because it's just out of control, no, those times. But the rest of the time, just as much as possible in your heart, just in pure insight, in pure love, in devotion to God. And then these times, by His grace, if it is His will, we'll just keep reducing, just keep getting better and better. So don't worry
but
so much about what to do in that time, because it just feels like we are so swayed fully in that time that there's no antidote possible. But what you do around that time is it, as much as possible, surround yourself in the light of spirit, in the light of the Atma, and He will bless you with more and more auspiciousness.
Father, like, I never. This is like brand new thing. So I'm just like, I don't understand. Where is it?
Don't worry. It's from what it sounds like, it just sounds like what you would call a release, and just some pent up things which you never knew you had, but just getting out of your system. But let's see how it goes. My feeling is that you're staying with Him, with His presence, will make it milder and milder, and maybe unnoticeable fairly quickly.
Yeah, I needed to check because this is like, what is happening?
Yes, I can understand. I can understand.